I studied physics and mathematics because I always wanted to make films. We convinced some rich people to invest in our film and we could never pay them back. We lack the skills to access European financing. Money from the film fund, you are actually signing a contract where it's you who is responsible for delivering the film, or if you can't, you will have to pay the money back.
Hello there. You're listening to Characters Talk. This started as a podcast about Ukrainian animation and for Ukrainian animators, but we are changing things up a bit. From now on, we'll be talking to guests from all around the world. So if you are here for the interview, welcome. It definitely won't be our last one in English, so make sure to subscribe. We're going to switch to Ukrainian for just a minute to share a quick update with our local audience. Feel free to skip ahead. We'll be right back. Всім привіт! Так, вам не почулося, це справді була англійська, але ви все ще слухаєте «Говорять персонажі». Це ще подкаст для українських аніматорів, але не лише про українську анімацію. З вами, як завжди, Наталя та моя партнер in crime Неллі, і сьогодні для нас особливий випуск. Він відкриває серію інтерв'ю з іноземними гостями. Одразу попереджаємо, поки що цей епізод доступний лише англійською, але ми дуже хочемо зробити український дубляж таких інтерв'ю. Якщо хочете нас у цьому підтримати, можете задонатити на нашу монобазу. Посилання є в описі, і всі кошти підуть саме на дубляж. Попереду ще багато крутих гостей, тож ваша підтримка реально допоможе зробити ці розмови доступними українською. А тепер до нашого міжнародного випуску і переключаюся назад на англійську.
3, 2, 1. Basically, this is the first podcast that we are recording in English, so looking forward to some stupid mistakes. But yeah, today we have a wonderful guest, Juraj Krasnogorský, who is a Slovak producer and founder of the studio Artichoke. So, Juraj, please tell a bit more to the audience who you are, what you do, and stuff.
So, Natalia, first of all, thank you very much for choosing me for your podcast. Thank you, Nelly, as well. I'm really honored to be here, and I hope you will be satisfied with my answers and whatever I have to tell. So please don't hesitate to ask me anything, and I will try to reply the best I can. So to introduce me very briefly. I'm a film producer based in Bratislava in Slovakia. I'm doing this since 2010 when I started Artichoke together with my colleague Henrietta Cmangova. We are just two producers in the company. We do mostly animation in the past couple of years, but not only. We also do fiction. We also do documentaries. We do series, so we try to do anything that really catches our heart. But it's true that in the previous years, it's mostly animation that we have been dedicated to. We don't own a studio, so we work with outside studios. Lately, we sort of work on practically an exclusive basis with a Bratislava-based studio called Blue Faces, with whom we've done a couple of films and now doing a series as well, both 3D, 2D, everything. So maybe we will have time to talk about it more, but this is sort of briefly about me. Maybe I should mention also, this is how we met, Natalia, right? Through the CEE Animation workshop. That's a professional European training for producers, also coming with projects and their teams. It's what we are proud to say that it's the most advanced European training, professional training for animation and exclusively focused on animation. So anyone out there wanting to learn more and network and go out with their projects to do co-productions in Europe, things like that, the CEE Animation workshop might be the place. It's open to not only European professionals, but actually from the whole world.
So, this was basically the great introduction And many questions can come out of that. But the first one I would like to ask, probably, you mentioned that you studied physics and mathematics. So I just wonder, like, when you founded your studio and switched to film production, what basically drove you there and attracts you now?
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes it feels even to me that it's like more lives in one, because I did actually study physics and mathematics and spend a part of my life dedicated to completely different things that what I'm doing today. Also living in different countries, I had the chance to live 10 years in Geneva. I had the chance to study, thanks to the Erasmus program, for 2 years in Bilbao, in Spain. Then once I finished my studies, I went to Paris and started working there. So I also lived in Warsaw, a couple of months in Rome. So I feel very much as a European person in everything, in how I lived and how I like to think, and also the projects that I'm doing. But back to your question, I studied physics and mathematics because I always wanted to make films. So far, it doesn't make sense, but in the French system where I was studying back at that time in Geneva and in a town just next to Geneva, which was in France, so across the border, when I was at high school. So I knew I wanted to study films, and I knew I wanted to become a film director since the age of 12 around. And the film that made me sort of recognize this was Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. I don't know if you've seen that film. If not, it's really good. I've seen it again recently. It didn't age at all. If you haven't seen it, it's a film where Bill Murray, this excellent American actor, a comedian, wakes up every morning in the same day, and he goes through the same day all the time, and he's basically trapped in one day. It's a very funny film, but I understood only much later why this film specifically made me want to go into cinema. And I think it is because it sort of is like a metaphor for filmmaking. When you make films, you do the same take several times or many times until you get the best out of it. And this is what was happening in the film. Basically, he had to relive the same day until getting it right. And so I think there was something that already spoke to me in it. I wanted to become a film director. I was studying in France, and in France you have this system where, in order to go to a film school, which at that time was like the best one was in Paris, called La Femis, the candidates were obliged to do at least 2 years of something else before. So I had a dilemma, what can I do, something else? And I have chosen physics and mathematics because at that time that was something that just recently was sort of interesting me or challenging me in a way where I wanted to sort of know more about it. And as soon as I went into studying physics in Geneva, you might know they have this very special place there called CERN. That's the biggest human experiment of human history. It's an accelerator underground under Geneva. 10,000 physicists from all around the world work there. And so I was interested by all this, and I ended up studying 5 years. And I even ended up working for 1 year in this CERN. But then I wanted to come back to my initial desire, which was making films. I went to Paris because that was the place I sort of felt that European cinema, that's the mecca of the European cinema. I was studying some more at La Sorbonne for like cinema studies, but I was also, I found the job that was a complete coincidence, another long story, but I was teaching acting for 4 years at the private school called Cours Florent. So for 4 years, I was basically teaching, acting, and making short films and doing films, and at the same time studying. So I sort of somehow composed my own film school in this, and did a lot of practice. And when I came out of this, I felt like, okay, I'm ready. I want to make films, but to really make films, I only managed to do it in Slovakia. I found a producer. I came back to Slovakia in 2008 and shot my first short film. And then I shot my first feature film in 2012, that released in 2012, but shot in 2010. That was called Tigers in the City. And for that film, we decided with my colleague Henrietta to actually create a company. And the reason for creating the company was that at that time, so I was like 28, 29 when I started to have this ideas for the film. And so we were young, and the producer generation, people who actually had companies and so on, they felt to us old at that time. I suppose they were younger than I am today, but at the time we sort of like really felt a generational gap, and we felt that they are coming from the old world and from communism and everything, and we wanted to do things differently, and we did do it differently. We were the first really low budget film and financed also with some private money. We convinced some rich people to invest in our film, and we could never pay them back. You know, this kind of sort of like a debutant sort of energy, but also mistakes and all that. But it led to us actually creating the company Artichoke, and it led to me then going around Europe for workshops. And concretely, there was one very formative for me. It was called Maya Workshops at the time. It doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. And that was a workshop for debuting producers or emerging producers. And I had the feeling that I really needed to know more about producing and about distribution, about marketing, you know, all those things, because I wanted to use it on my film. So I shot it as a director. But then once the film was shot, I really started to think more about like how to distribute it, how to put it to festivals, how to do all these many things. So I suddenly trained as a producer, and I suddenly discovered that, wow, this is interesting. This is I'm you know, learning new things all the time. And so not to make this too long, I'm already making it too long. But what I sort of like realized that this is a job in which I never stopped learning. And this is something that still sort of motivates me to continue doing it today.
So, am I right assuming that you need to have a finished education in other field, so you have the experience, the stories, the background you can talk about?
I believe so. I believe that really they have this and I agree with this idea that in order to tell stories, you actually need to have some experience, some life experience. I mean, there are cases of prodigies where it's not true, and you suddenly have super mature, you know, storytellers at the age of 19 or 20, and they are able to make fantastic films. Xavier Dolan was one of them. But yeah, in general, I think and I agree with it, that in order to become a mature storyteller, it's very important to have some experience.
Yeah. It also helps filter out people who weren't really motivated, right?
Yeah, but then if you keep your desire and you are able to put all this energy and wait for 2 years, it's also a proof that you are determined to do it.
But I'm curious, since you originally wanted to be a director but became a producer, how do you now decide which project to take on the board, and what makes you say yes? What feelings the project has to make you feel to say yes?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question, and I was often sort of even retrospectively like looking back, like, okay, so what are the films that I've actually worked on, and is there anything in common? Because some are documentaries, some are live action, some animation for adults, animation for kids, so it sort of like could look all over the place, but then I definitely see that in all the projects that I've done, all of them reflected values that I totally stand for and would stand for again, and defend them, and have am proud that I was part of these movies, and the things that these movies are saying, and the values that they are, the world that they are showing is a world in which I believe, and speak of things that I find important, and so on. So, I mean, if I can mention examples, we were talking just before recording about White Plastic Sky. That's an adult animation that we've done in 2023 about a world where basically nature has completely collapsed already. So a world in the future, perhaps in 100 years, actually in a way very scary how realistic it could be. So this is a film that makes you, the viewer, think about ecology, but in a very clever way, like asking you sort of questions like, what could we then do today so that we don't end up like that in that movie? Or even a more general philosophical question as like, what is our role as human beings on the planet Earth? And even a subversive question like, is it really important for the human race as a species to survive? I mean, we obviously believe that, of course, we are the most important in the universe, but really for the planet Earth, it's just like a very short moment of its own history, and the planet Earth would probably do very well without us. So this is okay, one type of topic that I really found interesting and wanted to share, and then when I compare it with Tales from the Magic Garden, which is our latest feature film, stop motion animation for children that premiered last year in Berlinale, and now it's sort of like finishing its festival cycle, and it came out in France in cinemas just 2 weeks ago. So right now in cinemas in France. So this is a film, first of all, for children, for the whole family, but that speaks about grief, about accepting grief, about I mean, this is not something I would tell the kids to sell the movie. Of course, the film is about adventure and telling stories and imagination, but on the background, it also speaks about death in the family and how to overcome the sadness of losing somebody close. And what we say in the film, and what I truly believe, is that what helps us is to tell positive stories to each other, and to use imagination to put feelings into words, and through that learn to accept even the difficult things. So again, it's a completely sort of different topic, but I could speak for hours about this topic, and it's really sort of something that is close to me, close to my heart, close to what I believe, what I like to share, and sort of it paints a world that I find in a way comforting, also in contrast to the reality that we sometimes see in the news, and then we suddenly think like a world is a horrible place, but actually in our human day-to-day life with our families, with our friends, and so on, world can actually be a very beautiful place. So Aida in Irbin, another film that is very, very strong for its topic. So the short film by Anastasia Falidaeva from Ukraine, that I really had the privilege and I'm very proud that I could be part of it. together with Martin Vandas from our film, the Czech co-producer. This is a film that for me was like a moral, and I felt it as a moral and ethical duty to really be part of this and to make this very singular voice of Stacy Farileva to be heard, and the film to be seen, and not just for the artistic reasons, but because I, for my whole opinion about this crazy aggression of Russia against Ukraine and everything that it brought to all our lives in the past years and to your lives in Ukraine, and how it is from a perspective also of a single person, like the small history inside the big history. This is what I felt was very nicely shown in this movie, and I think it was very important for the whole world to see this movie. So yeah, but then I also do. So this is the topics, right? This is how I choose the films that it really needs to speak to me in terms of values. But then I also do always think about promoting the industry and helping the industry to grow, doing things for animators and for animation, for young authors, all this, and for the image of animation in general. So I live in Slovakia, and Slovakia is a small country for animation. It's a small country for cinema in general. And we even had a situation where after the communism in the 1990s, anything that actually was functioning here before, and we did have some history in animation, especially as Czechoslovakia, the whole country. When it separated, the two countries divided, a lot of sort of bad things happened, and the industry, to put it short, the industry collapsed completely. There was a complete new change of generations. The people who knew how to make films, animated films, they had to retire or look for other films. So know-how was lost. So basically there was like nothing at the end of the 90s. So from there, we managed to move today. Okay, it took some time. We managed to become a country that now has feature films nearly, I would say, every year. In Annecy, in Berlinale, shortlisted for the Oscars, nominated for the European Film Awards. And actually, I was just like saying this very recently at an event for film awards, Slovak Film Awards, that it's actually animation that represents Slovakia abroad in the most significant way. It is actually animation that people in cinemas abroad, like in France, Italy, other countries, they get to see. They don't really see the documentaries. They don't really see the live action films because they don't travel that much. They're much harder to sort of translate and make travel. But animation travels everywhere. So the evolution between what was here at the end of 1990s and what we have today is just amazing. And I'm really happy that I could have been part of that.
Yeah, the situation you were telling about like basically rings the bell to Ukrainians, definitely. And a dream come true would be for people from Ukrainian government to hear that, because probably you haven't heard of that, but recently the head of Ukrainian Film Fund told that there is no animation in Ukraine and there will be no breakthrough in the next 5 years or so. And we were so furious. So I just wonder, especially I think you were really the part of this process, like of Slovak industry growing and stuff. So in your opinion, what were the actions and maybe laws, maybe some schemes, processes that basically drove Slovak industry to the state it is right now in?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I would really like to challenge the opinion of that head of film fund, because I mean, and I won't even like go into many details, but just Mavka, the feature film was an excellent example of how far Ukrainian films can go, and that was a success, even economical, that not many European films were able to achieve in the past 10 years. So that was a worldwide phenomenon. And about the new talents that are making films, we've already mentioned Stacy Falilayeva, but there's Irina Tsilik now preparing her feature film. Only the couple of films that I sort of know of, and I'm absolutely sure there are many others that are being made as we speak, and these are films that are very expected, anticipated in Europe, with very strong European partners from France, from Belgium, from Luxembourg, from other countries. So Ukrainian animation has a very strong position and a very nice perspective for the future to become very visible. So if this can somehow speak to your head of fund, I would definitely put my money on Ukrainian animation. At the same time, I also understand the difficult situation you find yourself in general. I mean, you are a country that has to defend itself against outside aggression, and there are certainly priorities where it's like you don't live in freedom, unfortunately, right now. So we hope, and there will be an end to this war soon, and that afterwards great times for animation will come. Anyway, you asked me about what helped us to do this. So definitely the first thing was the establishment of the Slovak Audiovisual Fund. This happened in 2010, and the fund since the beginning became very open to help projects exist in all types and categories of being, TV series, short films, co-productions, minority, feature films. I mean, everything. So this was good. What was not so great, and still isn't, is that the money is very limited, and it's I will say the figures. It's around 6 or 8 million euros per year for all types of films, including fiction, including documentary, animation. And so if you just compare this with any other country, bigger country, if you even compare it with an average budget for an animated feature film, which can be around 6 or 8 million, you know that you cannot do with such limited money much, but still it helped us to access European funds. Because once you have funds in your country, then you can go outside, then you can become co-producer to someone else, then you can really sort of like enter the market. Another thing that helped us hugely was that around 2013, we created, together with other countries around us, something called CEE Animation. CEE Animation is an organization created by associations of producers from, initially it was Slovakia, Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, and Slovenia. So these 5 countries. Producer associations created this supranational association. And at the beginning, the first activity was to make a yearly gathering that today is called CEE Animation Forum. It's a pitching platform, a pitching forum, and over 3 or 4 days each year, producers would meet there and exchange projects and start to make co-productions. And within that platform, very soon we understood that what we are missing as producers from our part of Europe is that we have a disadvantage compared to our professional friends from France and Germany and the sort of the stronger economic countries, is that we lack the skills to access European financing. European financing is either media funds, Creative Europe Media, the program, or the feature film program called Eurimage. And that we just didn't have the capacity, and you could see it on the numbers of how many or what countries were successful, what producers. At that time, in 2013, it would be super rare to see a producer from Central and Eastern Europe, not just in animation, in any type of films, to be successful at these funds. So we understood there's really a problem with the skills, and we needed to create some mechanism that would help us to get those skills. And so this is how the CEE Animation workshop was born. And again, I was lucky to be at the origin of it with other people from mainly from Slovenia for this particular project. And we started in 2017, and then regularly we started from 2018. Now it's our 8th edition. This workshop has trained over these past years. Every year we train, I think, 14 producers. So you can do the math, but then you see it also on the numbers of success rates in media and Eurimage over the past years. Suddenly we see that the producers started to be successful, and that allowed for much bigger projects to be made. So, for example, in Slovakia in 2015, when we started thinking about Tales from the Magic Garden, at that time there was no feature film, and there was no even a hope to actually ever be able to finance a feature film. But we then had this idea, like, okay, now that we know how to co-produce, now that we know how to access Eurimage and media, all these funds, let's get together 4 countries. Let's split the film in sort of like 4 short films and produce in the logic of a short film, because that's what our countries are able to finance. And then let's seek for the rest of the money from Europe, from Eurimage, and this is how we made feature films. This is also how White Plastic Sky was made, and also with Hungary. And this is how Tales from the Magic Garden was made. At the end, it was Czech Republic, Slovenia, Slovakia, and France.
Like, this is honestly a genius scheme. And when I first heard about it at your lecture in Chemu, I thought that, wow, it's one of a kind, maybe. But yeah, but also I wanted to ask about the workshop you created. Was there a particular reason you chose to build something very specific, like a very specific workshop with a very specific organization, instead of going into the formal education system? Was that a strategic decision, or it just happened this way?
Yes. Well, I myself, I told you that I discovered the profession of a producer not at film school, but in a workshop. That was Maya workshops for me. And then later I participated in the EAVE workshop, which forms really a lot of European producers. And it's based on that we sort of modeled CEE Animation. Now, if I understand well your question, it was like, why didn't we look into education, which would be sort of like at the level of university or something like that? Why have we created a professional workshop that basically comes after university? Well, the reason is that I think that you need to have a certain experience first, which is basically we are coming to the same idea of the film school in France that asks you to have some experience before. So I believe the same, that as a producer, you need to have a certain experience in co-productions, and also in animation. If you want to make animation, to have your first experience, to really understand like what are the things that you don't know and what are the things that you need to learn more. And that's where a professional workshop comes in. I mean, I was involved also with sort of university level education, also through a workshop called Animation Sans Frontières, ASF, and through different lectures where I was invited, be it for the Slovak film school VŠMU or the Hungarian school MOME. The thing is that at that level of experience of the students, you can only teach them sort of as much as they are able from their experience to still sort of absorb. But again, I'm saying like what really excites me about being a producer is that even after, what is it now, 20 years, nearly 16 years doing this, I still have to learn new stuff every day, and that's where the professional workshops actually have this important place, because that's where you meet all the experts, all the people who really made fantastic films, and they can show you, the behind the scenes and the kitchen of how they put their very complex financing plans together and partners and so on. And it's true, like making films in Europe in general is very complicated. It's not getting easier every year. The landscape is changing all the time. We witnessed the arrival of platforms since, I don't know, 2017 or something like that completely changed the landscape of how films are made, how films are financed, who watches them, how they watch it, how people go to cinema or not. Like it's changing all the time. So you also need to catch up and learn all the time. So yeah, I hope I replied to your question. Maybe not.
I mean, yes, thank you. And maybe like a small intro for my next question. For example, right now, our Ministry of Culture has opened a funding call, and there is actually quite a significant amount of money available, at least for our taste. But it still feels like the strongest projects are the ones that have co-producers and can secure part of the budget from other countries. So my question is, since you've been involved in so many co-productions and also teach how to make the proper one on your workshop, what's your recipe for finding a good co-producer? What steps would you recommend, and how do you recognize that you found the right partner? Because people often say that co-producing is like a marriage. But yeah, how do you know that you found the right person for this marriage?
Yeah, and you never know when they tell it to you. You never know whether they mean it as a good thing or a bad thing. But first of all, I believe in co-production being actually the only way to do the kind of films that I'm doing. I mean, I do films for an international audience. I do films that are very much based in the author's vision. So they ended up being labeled as art house films. And I think in any country in Europe, and this including the sort of strong countries like France, making films just on their own in their own country with the budget that now animation requires, I think it's close to impossible. So it's normal that you will see that every animation basically done in Europe will be done in co-production. Now, a general sort of thing that I've learned about about co-productions I remember one expert saying me that if you don't have to do it, then don't do it. Okay, so avoid it because co-production makes the project more expensive. Of course, because suddenly you have other costs that were not there before. The second producer or third producer, they also need to pay themselves. They also need to pay their office and these kind of things. So a co-production is automatically at least 20% more expensive than doing the same film without co-production. Then it can be challenging on the human level, that you might find yourself in conflict with people, and naturally you have to also learn the skills of being diplomatic, accepting also the priorities and necessities and opinions of others, and balancing that, as if working with a director was already not enough challenging, So plus you have to do it in other languages. So everything makes it sort of like more complicated, right? But in my experience and from the position of my country, Slovakia, there's no other way of doing such ambitious projects as I'm trying to do without co-production. But this being said, I actually really enjoy it, I have to tell you, because as I told you, I lived abroad for a big part of my life, and for maybe being also this generation where I was, my formative youth was in the 90s, and we were living in a world where really sort of like everything seemed going the right way, and Europe was this nice idea, and I still really believe it. I had my personal experience with that through Erasmus and meeting people and learning languages and having many friends in many different countries. So I really feel, as a European person identity, I enjoy working. On one day I have a call in Spanish, another call in French, another call in English with somebody from Norway, and it's just enjoyable for me to work this way. It sort of also helps me sometimes to get out of the current political situation we have here in Slovakia, and makes me sort of experience other countries, other cultures, other languages, all this. So I really find it enjoyable. So I understand also this initiative from your fund to encourage co-productions. I definitely encourage it. It's a great experience, and you have to look at it really from all the positive sides. That is, like, you will finally have the money to actually make the film. But not just that. With co-production, you automatically receive know-how of your partner. They might know things that you don't know, and if you use that wisely, that's really a benefit for the film. They have connections that you don't have, and you have connections that they don't have. So it's a win-win situation. Somebody knows a sales agent, and that will be the right one for the film. Someone knows a great editor. You really sort of like have the chance then to put the best possible team for the film, because you can pick the best people from each country. And also another benefit that is often sort of overlooked is that you automatically get exposure and audience for your films, because your co-producers, they will fight for the film to be shown in their country. First of all, because they have to, because they get money from the film fund, so it's an obligation for them to show it, but they will really fight for the film and in general. So suddenly it's not just you as one producer fighting for the film, but suddenly you will be 3 producers. And that can be a really, really good experience. And that was my experience definitely on Tales from the Magic Garden, where we were 4 co-producers. Although on the paper it looked like a nightmare. How will you manage finances? How will you manage communication? How will you manage the contracts and everything between 4 countries? So yeah, on paper, in theory, it looks very complicated. In practice, because I had the luck also to find really, really great people the real experience ended up being really great. And to your question, like how to find the right ones for you, well, I believe the best is to spend time with them, not just like meeting them at a market, but really spending time. And I only see sort of like two ways. There might be more, but I really in practice see just two ways of spending time. And I mean sort of like more intensive quality time. One obvious are the workshops. So if you go to a workshop, and these big workshops like CEE Animation workshop or EAVE, all these workshops, they take usually like 3 weeks in a year at least, or 4 weeks as our workshop. So you travel somewhere, you're at a hotel, and you spend very intensive working days with the same people for 7 straight days. And in the evening, you go to drink or well, you don't have to drink, but you spend private time with them, and you speak about other things, just the films. But then also you see them, how they work on the films, how they think, what are their networks and things like that. And you can actually really become friends, or at least get to know them enough in order to sort of like be sure enough to say like, okay, I'm able to work with this person for the next 5 years, because often it takes 5 years to make a film, right? At least a feature film. So that's why it looks like a marriage, because it will take time, and you will be in good and bad. The other way how to get to know these people is film festivals, but or some sort of like longer lasting markets. But not every festival allows you to do that. For example, I find the big festivals like Cannes or Berlin to be too quick for that. Even Annecy, they are too quick in the sense that often when you have a meeting scheduled on one day for 15 minutes, and then it can actually happen you will not even cross that person for the rest of the week, because sometimes people come only for 3 days, and there's 20,000 people, so it's really hard to really spend time. But now I just came back from Tenerife, from Spain, the Canary Islands. They organize since a couple of years something called Quirino Awards, or the Quirino co-production market. So it's at the same time sort of awards for Latin American animation and a co-production market. So it's mostly Latin American, Spanish and Portuguese companies with projects, but also some selected European countries. And there, as it's a 4 or 5 day event, you really get to spend time with them, with people. You get to know them, and this is how you sort of develop your network. And after a while, after maybe you keep meeting these people for 2-3 years, then suddenly you start co-producing together. But having this first experience of co-production is extremely important. I had it on a film called Superbia. That's a Hungarian art house short film. Was pretty successful in 2016 by Luca Todt, a really great artist. And that was my first real sort of animated film co-production. It was a small film, so it's great to test it on a short film, because there's less money involved, and it will be probably quicker than making instantly a feature film. So yeah, that's the good thing, to try to have the first experience on a short film.
You mentioned that you're able to have meetings in different languages. I wanted to ask, how important are language skills if someone wants to start international co-production?
I actually had this talk with someone from the studio this other day, because we have a very, very talented artist, and we really wanted him on an international project, but we found out that he's really not skilled in English, and he's a young guy, I mean 26 years maybe, or something like that. I told him immediately to drop anything what he was doing at the moment take a loan if he had to go for 3 or 4 months to, UK, even some small city, find a school there for English, not do anything else from morning until evening for 4 months and come back, because it's an investment in yourself. And even if you have to repay a loan after this or something, you will pay it back very, very quickly, because you will suddenly, get jobs outside and everything. So today I found to have at least one language, and probably, it's pretty clear that it has to be English, a total sort of must. I cannot even imagine, working in Europe in cinema without English.
Yeah, but additional languages help too. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, sure. Because then you get to, if you speak to Spanish people in Spanish, or you speak to French people in French, then suddenly you get closer to them. But it doesn't make really working with the French people easier, I have to tell you.
No? Oh my God. I was learning French just only for that purpose, to get everything easier.
I disappointed you now. How many years of your life? Just
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But by the way, you mentioned that, like, from your perspective, the first thing to start with, like co-production, would be the short film. So I was wondering, from your experience, what are the main differences between producing or co-producing a short film versus a feature film? And which format do you personally prefer, especially when it comes to distribution? That's actually what interests me the most.
Okay. Right. So, short film is shorter. Okay. In everything, it can be difficult to produce a short film. It can be sometimes as difficult as to produce a feature film, but it's pretty certain that it will last longer. It will be shorter in time, basically. Okay. Between the moment when you start working on something and you finish it, for the short film it might be 2 years, where for the feature film it will be at least 5. So this is the first difference. The other difference is that financially there is much more at stake with a feature film, because the numbers are bigger. So you will be committing to much more responsibility. At least in our film fund, but I think it works everywhere. You will not be really able to finance. You will not get the money for a feature film before having some track record and being able to convince the juries that you can handle films. You can make you can handle the money, the responsibility, and all that. So this is not to be neglected. Like when you receive money from the film fund, you are actually signing a contract where it's you who is responsible for delivering the film, or if you can't, you will have to pay the money back. And so it's a different situation, especially when you are a young person and you are just starting. It's a different situation to be responsible for 20,000 than for 2 million. So this is the thing to be considered. Then also in terms of distribution, we are probably talking about different things with a short film and with a feature film. With a short film, you will be aiming and putting all your energy into a festival career for the film and hoping for a festival career for the film. Whereas with a feature film, in order to also satisfy the different investors in the film, you have to seek a cinema release or some sort or platform or something where actually the film will even make some money. You don't necessarily need to expect money being made from a short film, and it rarely happens. Some, among the most successful short films do get some money from being sold maybe here and there, a couple of countries, like Spain, for example. There is one operator that buys short films, or sometimes HBO as a TV can buy a film. But actually the places where you can monetize short films in terms of making, like, selling it, are quite limited, and often you will want to give this little extra money to either the director, because often on short films theaters work for not being really sort of like paid for the real work they do, or sometimes you just like use the money so that the film can circulate more. So because every sending to the festivals costs some money, then there are extra costs with distribution. With feature films, you will try to get into cinemas. That makes you talk to completely different people, makes you talk to sales agents, to distributors, makes you spend money on and time and a lot of effort on your national cinema distribution, and all that. And this in addition to festivals. I mean, if it's a good film, you also will have the festival career at the same time. So it's not really sort of comparable, these two things, and I think in general, if a production company wants to grow or producer wants to grow, they will naturally start with short films, but slowly move into feature films, and but it also brings different sort of benefits to the producer or to the production company to have both. Like, I mean, I doubt I would have such an exposure at the festivals just with my feature films. And it was great to have this year 2 short films, I Died in Irpin and Hurricane, on the shortlist for the Oscars. So it was among the best 15 films on the Oscar race in the year, which was a great recognition. And I doubt I could have that with my feature films. Maybe someday it will happen. But so it's good to have both, because then you can the credit helps you to be visible on the European market. It helps also then to get the attention of young authors who will perhaps come towards me wanting their films to be produced under our company, and so on. So these are 2 different things, and I would really encourage producers to do both.
When have you started thinking about producing feature films? You was working on other films or on short films right before that. So how long did it take for you to start thinking or start working on feature films?
Yes. So it all came from these meetings that we had between the producers from the surrounding countries of Central and Eastern Europe that we had each year on this CEE Animation forum platform. I mean, we all had the desire to make something bigger, something that would travel, something that would be seen in the cinemas, something that would make us proud, that would be seen on television, that the kids could see, and all that. So it was clear from the start that we wanted to make feature films. But the situation was that there was no money for that, and there was no money even to think about it. So that's when we had this idea, this little trick, that we will actually produce our first feature film as 4 short films put together in such a way that the audience will not see that it has been directed by 4 directors and produced as 4 short films. That was a big sort of bet. It wasn't clear whether that would work, but it did.
Okay, that's definitely an interesting way to create a feature film. But I have a question here. Weren't you scared creating the feature film that way? Because you have different directors for each part, and each of the directors, they have their unique style. And, there's always a chance that those short films won't match well in the end, and the feature film won't work.
Yes, I think we were never scared. We were since the beginning. We were motivated by this adventure that we were going on together. So this was great. Like I can imagine where your question is coming from now. That if you are alone as a producer and you venture into something that you've never done before, and there is a big money risk and things like that, it actually might feel quite scary. And this is where the co-production makes it maybe a little easier, because if you have a partner with whom you can share not just the successes but also the failures and the worries, and if you're lucky to find somebody who can support you, sometimes maybe even financially, if it becomes necessary at a certain moment, or at least bear the risk together with you, then it can give you courage to make even more challenging films. Definitely, yes.
If you've made it this far, it probably means that the podcast resonates with you and it is useful. So just a small reminder that you can support the project via Monobank. The link is in the description below. Thank you to those who already support us. It helps us to create new episodes, grow the podcast, and also make the dubbing and the recording episodes in English. So we really appreciate it. Thank you. Nelly have already kind of touched this question a bit, but I would love to go a bit deeper. How do you and your partners usually balance the director's vision with limited budget, basically? Because there are always so many discussions, expectations get built up and something broken, especially with author-driven projects and content. So yeah, I'm curious, what's your approach to managing this
Yes.
balance?
I mean, every film is a prototype, so you cannot really sort of say that now you have it, now you have the recipe, and you will just repeat that. The relationship with the director and also the screenwriter, this is what I consider the sort of most important thing on the whole film. And this triangle that can be created between the screenwriter, the director, and the producer is something that I find very important, and this is also core of what we want to teach at the CEE Animation workshop. Now, the relationship, we all know that sometimes relationships with directors or between directors and producers can be difficult. This is as with any other person. I don't think it's specifically between these two professions, between these two professions that there's anything in any way different than in any other human relationships. It's all the more sustained by the fact that it's very important for the author when they bring about a film. It's like a baby. They at that moment naturally think it's the most important thing in their life. For the producer, the extra challenge comes from the financial responsibility, and often these are things that the directors don't really see or understand, and then again, I will promote our workshop. Again, that's one of the reasons why we bring also the directors there, because we want them to see what the producers are actually doing. The producers, usually they know what the directors are doing, but often I experience that the directors don't often know what the real job of a producer is, and why is it, important even. And of course, there's a lot of myth that goes around the work of the producer. Producers were always portrayed as the big rich guys with a cigar, sitting on a pile of money. The reality, unfortunately for the producers, the reality is different. This is not really a joke what I'm going to say, but there are studies that the producers in film industry in Europe are the most concerned by suicide and by depression. Like the percentage of mental illness among producers is 10 times higher than in normal average society or any other job. So, and it's not a coincidence. It is a very demanding job, and often it's related to the financial responsibilities. So balancing this is each time a completely new experience. And there's another interesting statistic in Europe, that the most successful films in Europe, the most seen by audiences and in festivals, are in general the fourth collaboration of the same director and the same producer. So what this says, basically, what this means is that when a producer and director find each other on a first, perhaps a short film, and they have a good experience and they continue working together, which means they had a good experience on the previous film, because otherwise they would not continue together. And they get to know each other, how they work, and so on. And it's usually on the fourth film doing together that they reach the peak of their potential success. So this will happen to every producer, and it will happen to every director not to have a good experience. And it's normal, and I think you should look at it. You should not expect it. That's not the right way to. You should never expect, in my opinion, the bad to happen, but it should be just like part of it. It's the one film is not the end of the world. You should try to continue making films and make a next one and the next one and the next one until you find a way to how to operate.
What a wonderful job you have.
Is it? I enjoy it. I have to say I do enjoy it. And
After these statistics, I think I need to reconsider what I do in my life and what I plan to do with it. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to ask, if it's not too personal, have you ever had a situation when you and your director or maybe a co-producer had very different perspective on the film, especially like during the production already? Yeah. What are your tips and tricks?
Whoever tells you they never had conflicts in this profession, I don't believe them, or sometimes or somehow they are doing something wrong. I don't know, but it's normal because people. You have opinions, and you have opinions on. You have taste, opinions, and also some obligations towards other people, and as we are not talking about something that is scientifically true and measurable, and it's art that we are talking about. So we are talking about subjective perception of different things, and of course everyone wants to. I think even the conflicts are actually coming from a good place. In general, you can, of course, have an experience that you will cross a person that just genuinely doesn't have good intentions. That can also happen, but in my experience, even the conflicts are coming from a good place, in the sense that everyone wants to achieve the best for the film. Only their way of trying to achieve it might be, different and in a sense conflicting with the other people on the team. And so, I can mention even on the first co-production, okay, that was Superbia. It's not really a conflict or something, but we had a disagreement about the edit of the film, and I was convinced that it would be for the benefit of the film if it had some sort of more linear storytelling, whereas the film is cut in such a way that it's completely non-linear. Okay, you jump in from the end to the beginning and then to the middle and so on. And I just thought that my opinion was that the film was artistic enough without the addition of a non-linear storytelling. Whereas the director, Luca, she was convinced like this was her film, and she's very, very secure in her artistic intuition and opinions, and this is great about her, actually, and this is also why we are still great friends, and I invite her every year to the CEE Animation workshop as an expert, because I really value her opinions. Now, regarding the film, we had this disagreement, and then I just accepted her way of doing, because it's an artistic film. When I boarded the film, that was because I wanted to work with an artist and her vision and everything, and also my financial involvement was not so huge that I really had to sort of pay back some money or owe somebody money or something like that. So I was absolutely fine going with her opinion when she basically said that she wanted it that way. Now, looking at the result, because this is always the problem. You are only making assumptions. You think like, but you don't know what the result will be. You don't know how the people will react. You don't know really how. And anyone who tells you that they know exactly, this is bullshit. It's really, this is changing how people perceive films, how it will be received in one festival or something else. You cannot calculate those things in advance. So with Superbia, I think what happened, we premiered the film in Cannes at the Semaine de la Critique, which is one of the highest sort of achievements that you can hope for a premiere of your film, and that was fantastic. But and I truly believe that that happened also because Luca really wanted the film to be made as she wanted it to be made, with this nonlinear editing and everything. I think for the French audience and this highly artistic audience, it was the right choice. But then the film didn't have such a great career as Hurricane or I Died in Irpin. It did have a nice career. It went to festivals, but it didn't sort of like win major awards and things like that. And I think, until today, I still keep thinking that maybe it was part of the reason was this nonlinear storytelling. So I don't know. You cannot really know, and we were probably both right. So sometimes you get these types of disagreement.
But probably this is also the difference. Like, I'm referencing to the previous question. What is the difference between the short film and feature film? Yeah, and probably this is like my assumption, kind of. But would it be fair to say that one of the key difference between basically the short film and feature film is the level of creative freedom the director has For example, with feature films, they're usually more, there are more stakeholders involved, distributor, sales agent, producers, co-producers, blah, 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 and also stronger financial obligations. So naturally, more people get involved and more opinions should be considered. So do you think that in this sense, the director's freedom is more limited on a feature film compared to a short film?
Yeah, but I don't know. I think in general that, there's a difference even between making your first film and making films during your life consistently. It can happen that some director will manage to make his first film, but he might or she turn out to be such a difficult person that no one will want to work with that person again, so that can also happen. So I think sooner or later, artists and directors, those who consistently continue making films, those are the ones who learned to listen to others, who learned to understand that there are other criteria and obstacles and things to make the film, and that it's a collaborative art, that it's only when you get the best out of everyone, and it's only when you also allow everyone that is involved, and really it's a long chain of people, like from script writers at the beginning until the sales agents at the end, or distributors. It's only when you allow them to do their best work that you can actually hope for a good result. So yeah, but it's still true that personalities and moods of people and stress and all those things sometimes can make the things complicated, and that yes, you need also to learn maybe to communicate with people, and there are techniques for it, and to negotiate. And this is when we are coming back to this topic of marriage, because that's what you need to learn in marriage as well.
So, like the last pieces of wisdom, the first piece of wisdom.
You make me sound like an old guy now.
But by the way, I thought like when you mentioned that you felt this very big distance between generations, I think nowadays there is less distance in between the generations. So nevertheless,
That's good to hear.
like at least in Ukraine it feels like that. Like you feel more befriended with your parents that your parents are with their. But nevertheless, so in your opinion, what distinguishes, this book From Good to Great? So let's speak about From Good to Great for a producer. Like what distinguishes a good producer from the great producer?
Well, I think you can be a good producer on one film, and often like it's a combination of many things happening. But then I think a great producer, first of all, is someone who you can see doing great films consistently. So it's sometimes you can have luck and do a great film, but then when you see those who have 5 great films, then you understand that like it's a real talent and real personality and real art, actually. And there are not that many, because it takes 5 or more years to make these feature films, and also it depends on the capacity of the country in which the producer lives. So you will probably more find them in countries such as France or the Netherlands, or these Western countries. So first of all, this consistency and continuity of making more films. That's where I see the greatness of producers.
Unexpected question, but I wonder, you told like good, successful films. What is the film success in your opinion? Is it the amount of awards? Is it the box office, amount of audience that saw it, or the quality of audience that saw it?
Yeah, it can be measured by many different things. I think it's also about whether the team who has made the film, whether they ended up on good terms or bad terms, but when they look at the film, they need to be able to say, like, this is what I wanted to do, and I'm proud of this. Yeah, and if you can, sometimes you can do this at 90%, but sometimes you can just like be 100% super sure about this, and this is the real success. Like this is great. I had this with Tales from the Magic Garden when we showed it for the first time in front of the audience in Berlin, and it was a kids screening. It was in the biggest theater, 100-year-old theater, on a Sunday morning, and kids were there, like 600 kids were there. Was there, and they started laughing, they started reacting to the film, and really made me feel like, okay, we nailed it. Like we really managed to do the best possible version of what we had in mind and what could have, happen over the 10 years that we were doing this, because really in such a long period, many things can change and many things can happen and influence and so on. So when that happens, that's a really good feeling. That's the greatness. So that's for me success. When the team sort of feels like, okay, we made it. Then if in addition to that, you see that also the reaction of the critiques and the awards, and when in addition to that, you even get the numbers in the cinemas, it's like, it comes on top of it. And of course, it's great. It's great to, I imagine it must feel great for the authors of Flow, the Latvian film, that they had such an enormous success at festivals, and then they ended up winning the Oscar, and then they ended up being the most visited film in their country and having a really good box office everywhere. That's but when you speak with them, were they expecting this? Of course not. Were they counting on this? Absolutely not. They thought they were making, an art house sort of smaller film, and everything sort of was pointing to that. Even, we had a chance to have the producer of the film in our workshop, and I saw him also in other occasions speaking about this, that they were not even getting the proper funding for the film because it looked too artistic, and the film funds were like, nobody's going to watch this. They were wrong. Turned out, yeah. So, all these things I consider a success, and even a bigger success for me as a producer is when the director, comes back and says like, okay, let's make the next film together.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So, okay. And last but not least, what advice would you give to emerging directors or producers who have maybe made only one film or are working on their first film? Okay, so maybe let's rephrase. What do you wish you had known when you were making your first film, either as a director or a producer?
Okay, that's a really good question. So I hope I will answer it right. So, and this doesn't come in order of priority, but I would like to have known when I was starting that the most important thing is not to get the first film, absolutely right as you imagine and everything, but to make it. To make it is more important than to have it made exactly as you want and perfect and everything. So this would be my first sort of recommendation. Make the films as fast as possible, do them, and go to the next one and the next one and the next one, because the greatness will come from your experience of making one after the next and after the next after the next. So this was this would be the first, not to clinch too much on just your first film and the opinions and everything. The second thing would be, we got to it. If you don't speak languages, invest in yourself. Learn to speak at least English and go to workshops, because this will change your life. This is the opinion of every producer who went to these bigger producing workshops, be it EAVE or ACE producers or even CEE Animation workshop. I've heard it many times. They said it changed their life professionally and even sort of personally. Natalia, you are going through this right now. I hope when we finish at the end of the year, you will say the same. I really hope that.
Looking forward to it.
So yeah. So I don't know if you find that. What do you think? What would you like to have heard when you were starting? Or
the trickiest thing here that I'm starting out as a producer now, like the executive one, and the questions I've been asking today are a bit I'm a bit selfish here, but I hope that what's interesting for me will also be interesting for the audience. And since many people in this in Ukrainian industry are in the similar position as I am, so yeah, probably just doing and not stopping is the most common advice people give, and it makes sense. But as a side note, we had an interview with Nastya Verlinska, the head of Linoleum Festival, and we talked about a problem that people often produce a lot of content, but the quality isn't great, and simply because they focus on doing more rather than doing it well. So it feels like there is a kind of a golden middle between doing enough to grow and not doing so much that the quality drops.
Yeah, and doing different things. Whatever comes about. If you find it that it doesn't go against your values or convictions or things like that, then do it. It can be a short film, it can be a feature film, it can be a documentary, it can be a music video, it can be whatever, even a commercial.
Yeah, but still I have a lot of friends who have really talent for they have unique visions, right? But are just how so small self-esteem, so low self-esteem that they just won't produce films, won't make them. Myself included. I have 2 short films in my head. I started like making them. I started production, but I stopped because I think, oh my God, it's so bad. So bad. It won't work. I will not do it because I'm just afraid of making mistakes. So yeah, and my friends of which I'm speaking, they are truly I saw their works and they're amazing. But yeah, so it's tricky stuff.
Yeah. I understand the fear because you live in a world. Your generation where where you can feel very judged because you are very exposed on social media and so on, and this is a pressure that I luckily didn't have when I was starting, I mean, it's hard, I imagine, to cope with this, but I think there are ways to cope with this. I mean, the easiest one is to cut from social media, you know. It's also possible if that creates additional stress for you and things like that. Well, then I think there's one huge advantage that you will see the moment you start doing something, that when you overcome the first fear, when you start doing something, you will suddenly see that seeing the partial results will bring you new ideas and new energy to do new things and do them better and better. Because sometimes you imagine what your work could be and it looks like a very big problem, but once you start doing it, you will dissect it in smaller steps and smaller problems, and so you will find solutions to it. I mean, you can't make a better second film until the moment you finish the first one. That's the very. I mean, creative work is, and people who never tried, they might not know that it hurts. It hurts when you're trying to get it out of your head and your hand and everything. It's hours and hours and days and yeah, and it's hard. So I don't envy you, and I cannot tell you how to make it better. All I can tell you is to just keep doing it.
By the way, I started reflecting, like it's the first time when my guest asked me the question, but anyways, the first thing that came to my mind from the perspective of a linear producer is that people often pay too much attention to certain details. Some details are truly important. They carry meaning and add more value to the film, but others are more about PTSD, let's be honest, and where you feel like everything has to be flawless, even though in reality no one will care and notice it. So I think this is one of the trickiest parts, understanding what really needs to be nailed because it matters, and what you can let go of because it won't actually impact the audience.
Yeah. But when you work with more people, you can sort of give each other this feedback, and often this is why it's important to also work with the producer, because the producer can help you to push you, to give you deadlines, and to sort of like make you feel comfortable about like this, you know, whether it's already time to let it go. But try to put that even on yourself, like to expect that there will be a moment where you will have to let it go, and set yourself, learn to do that. I mean, basically, so that not with the fear that what you are letting go is not perfect enough, but more with the motivation of that once you will let this go, you can start the next thing, and the next thing can be even better. So I think that's what should motivate you. Like, go on, make more and more, and not in the sense as Anastasia from Linoleum was saying it, that you should not be doing shit, right? We don't want to be doing shitty things just for doing that. But this is about honesty, like yourself being honest to yourself, like whether you are the only judge to know whether what you are making is meaningful or not. And so, yeah, if you are convinced that what you are doing is the best that you can at that given moment, the given time, and under the given deadline and money and situation, then it's fine. Then it's good. Then you are honest.
So, I would say on this wonderful point, amen, because it was a wonderful completion of the podcast.
Thank you for being with us. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the episode if you enjoyed it with your colleagues. And even if you are not Ukrainian, this won't be our last interview in English. So stay tuned and take care.